Okay, sorry about that, guys. A little bit of technical difficulty switching from my team call this morning to having a little bit of Zoom sharing difficulty. But nevertheless, we are on for this morning's RIP, and I'm excited because we're talking about chargebacks, guys. I'm excited to talk about chargebacks. Gosh, it's that one thing in the business that we're like, what the freaking frack? You know, like, what do we do? How do we make chargebacks not so scary? And I'll tell you guys, chargebacks are inevitable. You're going to receive chargebacks, but it's how you respond to them. It's how you look at them and the techniques and the strategies that you use in your business. I remember when I first got started, and I was in the car with Ashley, and she rang into my head. Listen, y'all, listen. If you do 3,500 AP a week and 6 applications minimum, you will never worry about a chargeback. It's when we are inconsistent in our app count and presentation count that, and our AP count, that we have this struggle. So today, Adrienne and myself, Adrienne's going to lead, we're going to talk about offensive and defensive reasons or ways to help with chargebacks. So they're not as scary and that you don't think about them as a thing. They are just a small thing that's part of the business. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let me go ahead. Miss Adrienne, do I have you?
Here, you got me loud and clear, Laura?
I got you, girl.
Good morning. Hey, thanks for having me co-host with you this morning. I'm really excited to talk about chargebacks. Does that make me kind of weird? Maybe a little bit, but weird. I'm going to help y'all today. I hope you get something out of this. Yeah, chargebacks is like a cuss word in our business, isn't it, Laura? It's like, oh my gosh, you said a bad word. You said a dirty word. So even though the word is negative, we don't like it. It has a negative connotation. How we beat them is positive. They have positive implications on our business if we choose to have that mindset about them. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how we can see chargebacks differently. Because I want to set this up before we go into strategy mode. How can we see chargebacks differently? Number one, they allow you to assess what you could have done differently, if anything, to avoid it in the first place. In other words, what can you learn from a chargeback? Because a chargeback, in some cases, it is just a true chargeback. But in other cases, maybe you could have tweaked a little something about the way you said something. Maybe your client needed a little bit more reassurance. Maybe you talked too much and you confused them. Maybe you overshot their budget, right? So just, it allows you time, I think, to pause and think back and really assess how you did. Rate yourself in that presentation. Did you do a good step 4? Right? Did you have the rapport there? Did you have the trust? It allows you time to also revisit the client to address any concerns. It allows you that time, if you will, and you should, get back in front of them, get your face back in front of them and reestablish that rapport, reestablish that connection and that trust with them. Maybe they need to see again the numbers. Maybe they need to hear again why they chose to do it in the first place, right? Sometimes, like I mentioned before, that a chargeback can be an indicator of overselling in some cases. In other cases, maybe just a lack of understanding. This stuff can be scary to our clients. Our seniors don't always like change. Change equals, bad to them, right? So, maybe it's just a lack of understanding. Maybe they're confused. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to address any objections that you didn't in the first place, right? Is it a true chargeback or is it just insufficient funds or the client needs reassurance, right? So don't look at every single chargeback as, oh my gosh, they want to cancel. Oh my gosh, they don't like me. Oh my gosh, their kids talked them out of it, right? No assumptions here. Is it an actual chargeback? Or is it just insufficient funds? Or maybe they switched their banks and they didn't tell you, whatever the case is. But think logically about chargebacks before you just react emotionally to them. And then the last point here is, did you do everything you said that you would do? Right? Because I know that I am guilty of not following back up in the time frame that I told them I would. And then I hear from them before they hear from me. Right? That's losing credibility. We get busy, y'all. Like we forget, right? I do it all the time. Very guilty of that. But if you tell them you're going to do something, you have to do it, or you're going to lose their trust. And then they're going to think, did I get scammed? Gosh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Right? So I don't know if you want to piggyback on any of that, Laura, before we go.
So many good things. I think it comes down to perspective and expectation. Just like anything in this business, it's perspective and expectation. So if you go into your week and you don't expect to have a chargeback, you're already in the wrong mindset. Every single week, you should expect a chargeback. So if you're writing $3,500 in a week, you have one that falls off and it puts you at $2,500. Now you times that by 4 weeks. Even if you have 1,000 AP that falls off every single week, which is $4,000 of potential chargeback, you're still hitting 10K net. When you do 6 to 7 applications, 1.8, AKA 1 to 2 applications are going to fall off. Are you going into the week knowing that? Or are you going into the week with an expectation that everything that you write is going to stick? Right? Now you can get better with those numbers if you'd like, but on average, that's going to be a 70% placement. Okay. So when you have the expectation, don't get offended if it happens. And when you're in the home, we're going to kind of go into offensive stuff, but it's slowing down to speed up at the end of your presentation, just like you said, not speeding through the process, and actually making sure that they understand what you did for them. It's crucial. So just remember, if you're doing 3,500, that's the standard for a reason. It's a standard because it yields the 10K, like you doing 10K net, if you're doing those 3,500 to 6 to 7 applications. But how many of you will do 3,500, then you'll do 2K, then you'll do 3 applications, then you'll do 4 applications, and you're never hitting those marks, but yet you have the expectation that you're going to make a certain amount. You're not going to have the chargebacks. And when you have an expectation that is not met with reality, it leads to frustration. And then you have this idea of chargebacks suck. I can't make any money in this business because of chargebacks. It's not chargebacks. It's the way that you're operating the business, and you're wanting different results and having incorrect expectation. So when you lay out the level playing field, it becomes easy. I have been here for 8 years, and I have been hit collectively with more chargebacks than anyone on here, but I've never worried about a chargeback. Never. Because I know that with the right activity, it's fine. And if I go through a season, that's normal. But on average, if you got the closing ratio and those numbers, you're good. Let's move into some offensive tactics here, or strategies. Go ahead, Miss Adrienne.
Yeah, and remember this too, something to write down: your commissions, your advanced commissions, they're interest-free loans, right? They're interest-free loans. So it's not all yours all right out the gate, right? So just keep that in mind. And the money is not there until it's there. Don't spend the money that you haven't made in your bank account yet, because I think we can all think a little bit ahead and get excited, and then maybe something happens and you don't get that money that you're anticipating getting, right? So offensive strategies. One thing I want you to see about just the slides here, I thought this was kind of cool, is that there's actually 2 slides for offensive strategies and only 1 for defensive. And I don't think that's just coincidental, right? Because I think that for the most part, chargebacks can be avoided. Yes, they're inevitable. Yes, they're going to happen. Yes, they're part of our business every single week. But I think we can do so much more than we give ourselves credit for when it comes to the offensive. Okay. So Laura's mentioned a couple of the standards and benchmarks already. If you're living at 3,500 minimum AP per week, you should be writing enough business that chargebacks should never hurt you. It should never be something that you're scared of, because what that shows, if you're living at a benchmark, you're consistent. And as long as you're consistent, then you're okay. It's when you are inconsistent, like Laura said, you do this one week, this next week, you're inconsistent, right? You're unpredictable. Therefore, your business and what sticks is going to be unpredictable, just as a natural result, right? So the second thing here, don't skip presentation steps. That could be one downfall for some people. If you're experiencing chargebacks, maybe you're trying to shortcut the presentation. Maybe you're getting way too quick into making that sale. And I tell my team, when I train somebody, live in each step as it comes. Don't be in step 1 or step 2 thinking about step 4. Live in that step, maximize that step, right? If you are thinking of the future and anticipating what's to come, you're forfeiting that critical foundation that you should be building with each client from the start of it through the end of it. So especially in your warm up, make sure you're building that connection. Step 1 being connect is there for a reason. It's there for a reason. And step 10 is there for a reason. Do them all. And I think this, I'll go a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So it's in my notes. I think I have some things in my notes that are not on the slide. So y'all might want to take some notes. Another thing I have here is always be interested. Always be interested. Always be most interested in doing what's in the best interest of your client, because they can feel if you are or not. Okay. Always be interested in doing what's in your client's best interest, because they can feel it if you are or you're not. You want to make sure that you're being budget conscious in your closing. What is in their best interest, like I just said. And avoid overselling. Just how do you do that, right? Because I think some people have the wrong strategy or wrong setup when it comes to finding out what their budget is, you know? And it's just like this question of, well, what's your budget? Well, when you do your door approach and they tell you it's not a good time, do we teach you to say, well, what's a good time that I can come back? What's a good day? What's your best day next week? No, right? We give them options. We say, okay, how about I go ahead and make you my last stop of the day, sometime between 4 and 6. How's that? Okay, excellent. Okay, that's not gonna work. How about tomorrow morning between 9 and 11? I'll be here then, right? We give them some options, but we still assert ourselves, right? We do the same thing. You should be doing the same thing when it comes to their budget. And what I mean, and what I've started doing when I'm teaching my team to do, is saying, Miss Johnson, Miss Mary, if we can find you the perfect plan that you love, that's going to meet all of your needs, that's between about 150 to 200 bucks a month. Is that fair? Would you be able to manage that? That sounds a little high, right? So guess what? When they say, no, that's a little high, I can't manage that. Okay, no worries. How about between 100 and 150? Would that be fair for you? Is that manageable? Yeah, that's good. How about somewhere right in the middle? I don't want to go over 125. They don't know what their budget is. They have no idea. Most of them don't have a budget, right? They just make a fixed income. They pay their bills and that's it, right? So feed them budgets, give them budget ranges, and then let them tell you from there. How do you avoid overselling? Sorry, Laura.
No, go ahead.
How do you avoid overselling? Sell them what they need. Sell them what they need. So at the same time you're assessing what their budget is, you have to assess their actual need. So if their budget's $150 a month, but they told you cremation, right? Are you actually going to sell them $150 a month unless they just want to leave all that extra behind to a family member? If they just say, I really just need cremation, right? You're probably not going to start with $150 to $200 budget range. You're probably going to, but with burial, I would. And then guess what? Any lower options, they're going to feel like you're getting them a good deal, right? It's strategy, it's psychology. So how to avoid overselling is sell them what they actually need. Let's see. Business card magnets. Go ahead, jump in, Laura.
Sorry, my computer was acting up for a minute, but I just reshared it. when you're telling them what they need, look at what they're already paying for. How well have they been a steward of what they're currently paying on? If they've been paying $200 a month for 6 months, for 12 months, then that's a good budget that they can do that. The 10% rule, I always have this like thing in my brain of where if they're bringing in $2,000 a month, I typically don't want to sell them more than a $200 premium unless they're already been paying that diligently, right? I think those are some of the things that you can do to kind of give yourself these parameters. But when you go back to sell them what they need, that is crucial. What do they need? What are they saying they need? What are their buying signs of, I do want the cremation. Oh, I don't want to be burned. I have to be buried. I've got to leave this behind to this kid, right? I think that is big. So I just wanted to add in there those 2 cents. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Business card magnets. If you have business cards and you're just handing them a business card, it's time to upgrade that. Okay. It's time to get magnets. And you know what, guys, what I do is I get the Amazon little peel and stick magnets, right? But then I cut them in 4 ways. Yeah. So it's just like a little tiny rectangle I put in the back, in the middle of the back of my card, but it stretches them out by 4 times. So there you go. Little money saving tip there. But you get up and you slap your magnet on their fridge. I look at that as I'm marking my territory. And every time that they go to their fridge, which is every single day, multiple times a day, including anybody else in that family, including anybody else who might come over to hang out, they're seeing my picture and my number, right? So you're advertising yourself in their home for free, practically, except for the cost of magnets, but worth it. So if you're not doing business card magnets, please do that. And at the same time you're doing magnets, do thank you cards. But do not say in your thank you card, thank you for your business. Thank you for your business. No, make it personal. In other words, Miss Shirley, thank you so much for the delicious yoo-hoo you gave me while I was there. I enjoyed so much talking about your daughter, Scarlett, and how she's doing in college. Thank you for your trust. How about that one? Thank you for your trust. I'm looking forward to getting to know you for many years to come. How about something like that? Is that going to stand out among all of the other thank you cards that she might have gotten saying thank you for your business? Absolutely. Absolutely. So be personal and tie it to an emotional relationship that you have built with your client, right? Share, how interested you were, how funny that story was that she told you, or, so connect it back to something personal that you experienced with her. And the last point there, establish and maintain an emotional relationship, right? This should not just be a transactional business relationship, right? Because if it's all about the business, if it's all about the money for you, they're going to feel that, which could essentially lead to a chargeback if they don't feel an emotional bond with you. So create that and maintain it. That's all I got for that slide, Laura, if you want to piggyback.
Nope, I think you're good.
All right, cool. So offensive strategies continued. Follow up and follow through. Do what you say you will do is that acronym there. Follow up and follow through. If you're going to say you're going to do something, you got to do it, period. You have to do it. And if you're going to give them some kind of timeline and set some kind of expectation, you have to follow that because they are hanging on your words. Your words is your words and your actions are your brand. Okay. So if you're going to say, I'll call you next Monday or Tuesday to let you know the result of this, to see if you've gotten approved, under promise, over deliver. Think about that. Under promise and over deliver. If you think it might be just a couple business days before you need to contact them back, maybe tell them a week. It could take up to 5 business days before you hear from me, and then over deliver by calling them within 2.
Yeah.
Right? They'll love that. They're going to eat that up. That's your credibility, So set proper and thorough expectations. That means take that time in step 10 to cool down with them. Don't just take the money and run. Don't get that approval. Don't get that app done and get their signature and hurry up and get out of there before they change their mind. No, cool down, take the time to really solidify that sale by setting their expectations. Okay. Something that you had pointed out too, Laura, I think is just so important, is to spread the chargeback risk among multiple carriers. I know we all like we have our favorite carriers, we have our go-tos, but don't just feed all of your business to one or two carriers all the time. You want to spread it out, and having some as earned business, like a Gerber, right? We don't have an advanced commission, just as earned Gerber. Be okay going there sometimes for your guaranteed issue clients. Spread your risk out a little bit. That way you're not, digging yourself out of this hole potentially with one company or two that you're putting all of your business to, right? Go ahead.
I want to add in right there too, is the caveat to that is, when we say spread your business out or spread your risk out, that doesn't mean spread your risk with 15 carriers, because that can do the opposite. If you've got business with 10 carriers, you're going to have more chargebacks, and you're feeling like you're always trying to, because you're not writing enough, just like you have to be consistent with your 3,500 AP. Rule of thumb for me is keep your business with 4, maybe 5 carriers. Like, you have your Mutual of Omaha as your go-to for certain things. You have your Royal Neighbors for go-to for certain things. You have your one guaranteed issue. The reason being is that it creates a funnel of business, okay, and back end money and things like that. And then when you do have a chargeback, you can pivot a little bit, like, okay, I'm going to do one policy a week over here, but I also have where it's one of my go-to carriers. So I know that it's not going to last forever. My chargeback's not going to last forever. It's not going to sit there for 90 days and then I lose the carrier. That's why people lose carriers over, not writing enough business with a carrier and then not talking as well, which we'll kind of get into. So spread it out, but don't spread it out too thin. Just enough is important. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah, that's great clarification on that one, Laura. Make no assumptions. Make no assumptions. I'm guilty of this too. Oh my gosh, like Miss Shirley, who I just sold yesterday, she's calling to cancel. I know that's why she's calling. Don't do that. Don't make any assumptions. If you know in your heart of hearts that you did right by her, she's probably not calling to cancel. And if she is, that's okay. Take a step back. Don't react emotionally. Don't assume. Don't take it personally. Just talk to her. Just talk to her. And if you have to get back in front of her, then do that. Address any potential red flags in the presentation proactively. Don't run from them. Don't hide from them. And what I mean by potential red flags, let's just say you have somebody who alludes to their daughter helps with a lot of their bills. Their daughter helps with a lot of their decisions. But yet they're the payer of their insurance, of their own insurance, right? Don't just brush that under the rug and sell a policy without addressing the daughter's involvement and a lot of their decision making and with their banking and whatnot. Go ahead and involve the daughter. You do that. Don't be scared of it. Don't be scared you're going to lose a sale. If you do, you do. But what happens if you avoid a potential red flag? It becomes a chargeback, right? Mm-hmm. And then you said earlier already, chargebacks are inevitable. So we can roll on just for the sake of time to defensive strategies, because I think that covers really well offensive.
Yes. I think there was something I was going to say and now I can't remember what it was. So, anyway, let's go on to defensive strategies.
Here we go. So defensive strategies, back office, you should be checking your back office every morning, every single day. Work that into your routine, that you are on top of your emails from the carriers, that you're checking those every single day. We get letters in the mail about our chargebacks, don't we? If it's been long enough. Your clients are calling you. Don't ignore them. Don't push them aside to get a new sale. You already have a sale. Make sure you're sticking it, right? Make sure you're following through with what you said that you would do, and that's answering the phone or calling them back quickly. So back office, take responsibility for your business every day with your back office. address chargebacks with urgency. So again, this is not something to put off. Procrastination gets you nowhere when it comes to saving your business. So address it quickly. Don't do it scared. Do it assuming the positive. And if it's insufficient funds, get the client on the phone quickly with the carrier. So three-way call, or go ahead and go to the house to get the payment done. If you can't get them on the phone, or this is a large sale that you really don't want to lose, get back in front of them and do that first part of your day, because you know it's going to be weighing on your mind. It might feel a little bit stressful until you deal with it. So deal with it quickly. And this is so important, this next one here. Remind them why they made the decision in the first place. Remind them why. So don't just try to save the business, but remind them why they did it, and get them to rethink cancellation. So just a couple things on that would be, now, think about the contestability period. What is their health like, right? Is it going to be very challenging for them to get immediate coverage potentially in the future? Readdress those things. Make them doubt their decision to cancel. So take that time to do that. Write 1 to 2 apps per week. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Write 1 to 2 apps per week to offset the chargeback quickly. So you want to feed the carrier that has that chargeback 1 to 2 apps per week. You don't have to put all your business there to get it going as fast as possible, but just 1 to 2 apps a week to let them know that you're on top of it and to get it going quick. And to do that, you might need to increase your activity to 1 or 2 extra presentations a week, or do a power night or a Saturday, just to get that activity up. So you have those extra opportunities to have applications that you can feed to that carrier. And make sure you're communicating with the carriers too. Don't run, don't hide from chargeback. Don't just let it sit there and think it'll take care of itself over time. Be proactive, be responsible, be grown up about it. Communicate with the carriers. They'll work with you, especially if you communicate with them. Laura, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, rule of thumb is, checking that back office once a week, once a day, whatever it fits into your routine. And you can't underestimate talking to the carriers. Okay. Not every carrier is going to operate the same way. They're not all going to be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that you've had this business that's sitting here for X amount of time. Sometimes they're not going to tell you. They're just going to do it. And so it's your business for a reason. It's your book of business to make sure that you're on top of. A part of your routine is to check in on those things. And sometimes that might mean, hey, giving them a call because you don't understand something. Maybe you see something like back office. And over time, the more proactive you are, the more you're going to understand about each carrier. Okay. I think that's big. What I was going to talk about earlier that I forgot my thought was, if you understand how to probe with questions and alleviate objections in your presentation, that's huge to chargeback, right? Asking them those questions. Like, again, if we could have your daughter on board and it fits into your budget, is that something that you want to take care of? It eases them. You're hearing whatever that objection is that's going to potentially lead to a chargeback later on, is probably with those questions. I did have a text that came into our leaders chat, and I'm just going to read it out because I think it's just really good. And it kind of goes along with the same defensive strategies. Is don't procrastinate when it comes to chargebacks. The key is urgency. Just like anything in this business, the key is urgency. For example, if I get an email of a chargeback, I'm calling the client right then. If they don't answer, I call 3 times back to back. If still no answer, I go straight to their house. Chargebacks are my morning priorities. They're my morning priorities, and first house I stop at. Once I get in front of them, I call the carrier to get them back to do a payment. It all gets taken care of right then and there. Most importantly, if they don't want to get back on the books, because you can't save it all, you have to move on and not ponder about it or sit back. Move on and keep writing. Activity cures all. Okay, go ahead. 9:33. Anything else?
I have a quick question, if anyone wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Keywords. If it's the first, you found out you got a chargeback, you pull up. How do you go about that as far as like what would be the right way to introduce, I guess, verbally while you're there, like softly? Does that make sense, the question?
Yeah. So you're saying if they don't answer and you go back to the house and you're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Adrienne, if you want to say your 2 cents too, honestly, I just go to the door. I'm smiling just like I would do a regular door approach. Hey, Miss Johnson, I was in the area. I actually got an email. I think there was some type of hiccup with your payment. I want to make sure that you're okay. And there's anything I can do for you. And basically what you do is it's like the deer in the headlights. To be sure, the last thing that you're thinking is that you don't want this anymore. You never bring it back up to them that you don't want them. You come as a helper. Hey, something was a hiccup. I want to make sure that you don't lose your coverage that you worked so hard to get approved for. And then you go in there and then you have that time to reconnect, reevaluate what their pain point is, what their thought process is. Okay. And most of the time, all they have to do is understand just a little bit more. That's it. There's just one area that they just didn't understand. And so they make this decision. And so when they see you again and you're there to de-escalate the situation. When in doubt, your job, de-escalate it. Don't escalate it or have like, well, you don't want this insurance. It's attitude. Go in there and fix it because you're the professional.
It's a great question, Jason. Yeah. I mean, I take the blame. I take the blame for it. I don't say, oh, I got an insufficient funds email here or an email that you called to cancel this policy. I'm so sorry, Miss Mary. I must have goofed. I'm not sure what happened here, but I just, I must have messed up somehow. I'm so sorry. Let me help you get this fixed. So I take the blame for it.
Good stuff. All right, guys, it is 9:35. I hope that this helped a little bit, give you 1 or 2 techniques on how you think about chargebacks and how you move forward, ready to write great business and take everything that you can with this business. And so remember, 3,500, 6-7 applications consistently, you'll be fine. Have a great Tuesday. Ciao.